Morality from matter? Really? So, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. All right. So, the question is, how do you get an ought from an is? All right. How do you get objective moral value, like, it's wrong to torture babies for fun, from just a clump of molecules? The truth is, you can't. Molecules don't have morals. Rocks aren't righteous, right? Physics, it can describe how the world works, but it can't prescribe how we ought to behave. And so if atheism is true, then everything you are, your thoughts, your feelings, your sense of right and wrong, it's nothing more than a byproduct of time. Time, matter, chance. In other words, if you were just, if we're all just molecules in motion, then moral obligation is an illusion. Why? Because matter doesn't have a moral compass. The laws of physics can explain why an object falls when you drop it, but they can't tell you whether it's wrong or right to drop a baby off of a building. Yet deep down, you and I both know something. We know some things are really wrong. Some things are not just. Some things are morally wrong to do. Not just personally wrong, not just culturally unfashionable, but objectively wrong for everyone, everywhere, at all times. Things like murder, rape, racism. If morality were just some kind of chemical reaction in the brain, then what Hitler did to the Jews wasn't really wrong. It was just his neurons firing differently than yours does or mine does. Do we really want to live in that kind of world? Of course not. The truth is, objective moral values, they require a moral law. And a moral law is impossible to have without a moral lawgiver. If God doesn't exist, objective morality doesn't exist. You get that? But objective morality does exist. I think we can all agree to that, which means God exists. You don't get morality from matter. You don't get human rights from, hydrogen. You get them from unchanging nature of a perfectly good God. So the next time someone tells you that, they can explain morality without God, ask them this question. Why is it wrong for me to disagree with you? And if they say because it hurts people, ask why is hurting people wrong? Eventually, you see, they'll get to this, this exhaustion where they have to admit they're standing on borrowed moral ground. They're borrowing from the theistic framework in order to support their atheistic framework. And the ground that you're borrowing from, that's God Himself. Sorry, my dog's barking. But so hopefully you get value out of that today. And if you heard Everest in the background, I apologize. We'll see you next time, and God bless.